My friends, comrades, the fight is here. One way or another, this day would come. We were always headed this way, from the day the Pilgrims first stepped foot in the New World. A country riddled with internal contradictions, built on a lie, a fractured foundation, a false promise of equality before the law, opportunity, freedom, whatever platitudes and cliches you'd like to fill in the blank. None of that was ever real. An America we idolize, romanticize, have nostalgia for. It never existed. Fascism is here. Empires as vast, as powerful as ours can go out with a bang or a whimper, a trickle or a flood. But one way or another, whatever way you want to slice it, the end of our republic as we know it is upon us. And the ballot box was never the way out, especially now. Prior to Election Day, I have had heartfelt debates with those in my social circle about the merits of voting. Even though they had their reservations about Kamala Harris and the Democrats, they urged the country, to cast our ballot for the lesser evil once more. Just like 4 years ago, just like 4 years prior to that, and prior to that, and prior to that, in an effort to avoid the worst case scenario. Even then, I stood on the side of revolution, against changing the system from within, but instead changing the system as a whole, even if it requires force, even if it requires bravery, even if it requires the sword and not the pen. It was then a time to not just be bold in rejecting the illusion of choice, opting out of the mere optical ritual that is voting in our so-called democracy, but a time to get back to simple things, simple truths that ought to be simple, moral, non-negotiables. If genocide was not a red line for you, whether Democrats or Republicans funded it, you never had your head in the game. Now, we are out of options. Tell me, how do you vote yourself out of this mess? With an overwhelmingly and increasingly conservative Supreme Court, with an administrative state comprised of a cult of personality, with a Republican Party too chicken shit to stand up to their overlord, with a Democratic Party too cowardly to mount significant and meaningful opposition, with a troublingly large swath of the voting public too mesmerized, entertained, their itch scratched. Consistently voting for the lesser evil is like voting between lung cancer or the toxic fumes that created lung cancer. Neoliberalism and business as usual create a forgotten class, a majority that feels, rightfully so, that the system doesn't work for them. They are justified in that anger, but not where they place it. Immigrants are not at fault for you not being able to get a job. Trans people are not to blame for inflation at the grocery store. Muslims are not to blame for the bills stacking up on your kitchen table. The blame rests now and has always rested with the bourgeois capitalist class that puts the many to work for the profit of the few, that has turned human beings and natural resources into commodities so wealth could be concentrated at the very top of the pyramid, while the masses are left with scraps. This is where we should point our finger. And no Democratic campaign, candidate, or potential administration could have ever hoped to make even a dent in that. Take even a step towards a kind of society that returns the favor for those who built it. We built it. All the glory, all the wealth, all the advancement around us is our doing. But we can also be its undoing if we allow ourselves to fall victim, as so many of us already have, to tribalism, barbarism, savagery. The answer now lies, as I believe it always lied, in revolution. It's time for revolution, pastime. All that Trump's re-election did was significantly speed up the timeline. A Harris victory would have bought us some time, but ultimately would not have saved America from the inevitable. So now, compatriots, we have to build community. Now, comrades, we have to band together. Socialists, communists, Marxists of all stripes and colors, anarchists, and hell, even some social democrats, union leaders and workers en masse, come to the table. Whether you are a member of the Green Party, Socialist Party, Party for Socialism and Liberation, a disillusioned independent, or even a Democrat, even a Republican, willing to see the light, see it's all a ruse, see it's all a game, see it's all a lie, see that they're punking you, see Donald Trump for what he is and who he is, come to the table. Viva la revolución.